me, Miguel Navarro, and today we got my boy Serge. Serge, how we feeling to talk Dodger baseball today?
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Ravine Rundown Podcast. Excited to be here. Second episode. Me and my boy Miggy, we're going to talk about all Dodgers podcasts, especially leading up to the season, and let's go.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. So right now, we are definitely in a dead period of Dodger baseball. Right now, the Dodgers pretty much, they've made all their moves. We're waiting on two guys, Kike Hernandez, Clayton Kershaw. But until then, there's really not a lot of Dodger moves that are really impacting the roster that we didn't already see coming, right? But there have been not a handful of moves, but two moves that have kind of, they tie into the Dodgers.
Yep.
One of them being Ryan Brazier. The Dodgers DFA him. And to put into perspective, people that get DFA'd are bums. They're the guys they're like the 41st guy on the roster. You don't want him on your team. But Ryan Brazier gets DFA'd coming off a 1.8 ERA season, man. Like, it's crazy to think about.
Unbelievable. This is the first time I've ever seen a team cut a 1.8 ERA pitcher, no matter starter or reliever. So it's pretty shocking, but it just shows of how stacked our bullpen is, how much talent that we got in this offseason that we were able to DFA a guy that put up that production.
Yeah. He was really good for the Dodgers, especially down the stretch. We used him out of the bullpen a lot in the playoffs. Like, this is the guy that in a elimination game against the San Diego Padres gave us 4 big outs to eventually clinch that game and then eventually, obviously, clinch the series. So, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. The Dodgers not only DFA him, they finally go out and get a trade partner for him. So, the way the DFA process works is if you designate a player for assignment, you have a certain amount of time to either trade them, bring them back, whatever you want to do. The Dodgers trade him to the Chicago Cubs, and honestly, we don't really know the return for the Dodgers yet, but they were pretty much giving him away to Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, again, there was not going to be any room for him on the roster, which, to be honest, kind of sucks because I really liked Ryan Brazier ever since we got him from... Remember, he was cut from the Red Sox, so we took a chance on him, and he wasn't too good with the Red Sox. We took a chance on him. He came here to L.A., and how most times players that come to rejuvenate their careers in L.A., we always figure them out. Yep. Just like Evan Phillips, just like Jason Hayward. This is another one in Ryan Brazier that we took him in and we made him almost a star again. He was really good for us the past 2.5 years. And like you said, has some good playoff moments for us, especially against the Padres. And sucks to see him go. But I think with the Cubs, they needed some bullpen help. He's going to be their setup guy. Could even be a closer. And I mean, for the Dodgers, again, really nothing to lose here. And, Chicago's a pretty good organization right now. It's not like they're going to the White Sox, so...
Yeah, and for Chicago, they just go out. They traded for Ryan Presley. They got Peter Hodge in their bullpen. Now adding Ryan Brazier. This is a team that has struggled mightily with their bullpen. Moves like this, these little moves that go under the radar, these are the winning championship moves, right? So I really like the move, and I want to talk more about the Dodgers. Let's put this into perspective, guys. Ryan Brazier's going to go to the Chicago Cubs. He's going to be one of their best relievers. He's going to be one of their lockdown 7th, 8th, possibly 9th inning guy. And now he's going to leave the Dodgers where he wouldn't have made the roster. He's
with the amazing production. It's not even about this guy's play or clubhouse issues or off the field stuff. It's just we got so much talent in the bullpen over this offseason that there was literally no room for him.
No room. And it sucks to see him go. He definitely gave us some great moments, like Serge said. But you know what, man? If anything, this should just show how spoiled we are as Dodger fans. The fact that a guy like Ryan Brazier's cut for literally no reason. He did nothing wrong. He just happened to be a little bit on the older side. And the Dodgers were like, you know what? We don't really need him. So
yeah, he was unfortunately just the odd man out in this situation.
Yeah. For sure, and the reason for him being the odd man out, the Dodgers, as we know, signed Kirby Yates. So definitely an upgrade for the Dodgers on that side, Serge.
And what's even crazier about, just to get back on that point, Ryan Brazier's 37, Kirby Yates is 39, but he put up a 1.4 ERA in his season with Texas last year. So again, Dodgers see the talent, and like this guy, we're gonna take a chance on him. And so, again, unfortunately for Ryan Brazier, nothing wrong with his production, nothing wrong on the mound. He did everything he was supposed to. You just the odd man out in this situation.
Yes. Thank you, Ryan Brazier. Ryan Brazier.
Thank you, Ryan.
So
good luck with the Cubs.
It's crazy to think that this guy was only a Dodger for half a season, and I'm sad that he's gone. Jack Flaherty signs a
Jay Flair.
Jay Flair, baby. 2-year, $35 million contract to go to the Detroit Tigers. But the kicker in this trade is Flaherty's going to have an opt-out after the first year. And in his first year, he's going to be making $20 million a year. Second year will be a little less if he decides to opt back in. And there's also some incentives there. So this contract could be a little more for Jack Flaherty. It sucks to see him go, Sergio. I want to know what you think of the contract and the move for Jay Flair.
Man, so man, to be honest with you, man, I kind of feel bad for the guy. Like, this guy came, right, was great with Detroit, right? Traded him to the Dodgers mid-season at the deadline. He honestly saved the Dodgers season. He saved that rotation. We got him because all of our pitcher with Glasnow was out. Shohei was out. Yamamoto was out at the time. We literally had a Walker Buehler that wasn't Walker yet. So this guy came in as like, okay, you got to be Superman. Like, you got to come in here and save the rotation. And he was great in the playoffs. Game 1 of the NLCS and Game 1 of the World Series, put up great numbers. Game 1 of the World Series, he gave us 7 innings. 7. Crazy. He had a great playoff run.
Actually, I think the Game 1 of the World Series was the 6 1/3 start, right? I think NLCS was...
Oh, I think NLCS was 7.
Right. Yeah.
Well, one of the switch.
One of the starts he dogged up.
He dogged up. But, bro, he put up great production with the Dodgers, was great in the playoffs, and he won the World Series. And it's crazy, bro. It's crazy how the baseball offseason works and how some players, unfortunately, don't get up their contract. Like, he signed all the way till February with the team that traded him, and he was even on a podcast called Foul Territory with Ken Rosenthal and Scott Braun, and he was on a call with them. Yeah, shout out to them. And he was on a call with them and was like, yeah, like, nobody's contacting me, nobody's calling. It's like, and I don't mean to brag, but I kind of just don't understand. Like, I just won a World Series, but it kind of shows in baseball where there's these teams that are not Dodgers that are scared to spend, that are scared to give a pitcher a contract. And it's like, Jay Flair has no, he had that arm issue, but again, his reports came back fine, his physicals came back fine. That's how we accepted the trade. So, I'm glad that he ended up getting a contract. I think Detroit, he'll be really good there with Tariq Skubal, that 1-2. They're going to be pretty dominant. But yeah, man, he was definitely like a 4-year, $80 million pitcher.
Yeah. And I think you make a great point about that, about his value. This is a perfect example of these teams not doing what it needs to take to win. This is a guy that was the number 1 starting pitcher on the eventual World Series champion team.
Yep.
This is a guy that went 7 innings in Game 1 of the NLCS. This is a guy that went 6 1/3, 2 runs in Game 1 of the World Series, the highest stage in sports. Like, he pitched at the highest level. He was consistent all season long, and he just put up great numbers overall. Like, if you wanted 5-6 innings of less than 3-run ball, Jack Flaherty was your guy last year.
Consistency. That was his tenure with the Dodgers, was consistently. Went out there every 5 days, was able to give us innings and hold it down for that period of time until Yamamoto was able to come back and Buehler was able to, find his role. And again, it just goes back to teams don't want to spend. There was a number of teams that could have easily gave him a 4-year, $80 million. The Angels, the Giants, the Padres, the Nationals, even the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays just gave Max Scherzer, a 41-year-old injured Max Scherzer, 1 year, $15 million. Right. You're telling me that they couldn't get Jack Flaherty on a 4-year, $80 million? Especially with a franchise that's not able to get free agents, he would have went there.
Yeah.
So it just sucks.
Yeah, the Jack Flaherty move, it's interesting for sure, man. He was really good for the Dodgers, and like Sergio said, I want to make this point. I want to emphasize it, even though Sergio already said it. The Dodgers, when they made this trade for Jack Flaherty, their starting rotation was dropping like flies. It was bad, man.
It was scary.
Think about it, bro. We had Justin Robleski coming up making starts. We had
Ben Kasperius.
We just threw anyone and everyone out there to try to fill this void. Jack Flaherty came, brought the consistency that the Dodgers needed, and it carried over into the playoffs. He pitched so good for us. And the fact that no one wanted to give him that multi-year extension, the fact that he waited this long to sign, despite him being pretty solid throughout the year, people are going to blame the Dodgers for spending money. When are we going to start blaming teams for not spending money? Jack Flaherty deserves that money, man.
Yeah, and that's the problem. There needs to be... I've heard the issue, a salary cap is never going to happen in the MLB. The Players Association won't let that happen, but I think a salary floor needs to be implemented into the league. Because there's teams like the Pirates, the Mariners, that have money that are not spending it. And it's again, there's for example, Mariners for Pete Alonso. Bro, he's literally just waiting for a team to throw something at him.
Yep.
And they need the money. Like, go out there and spend the money. You can't be scared. And again, the Dodgers, people want to hate on the Dodgers for spending money, but that's why they won the World Series last year, and that's why they have such a passionate fan base, because that front office delivers to its fans.
Yeah, and the Jack Flaherty move, I want to put this in perspective. Frankie Montas got pretty much the same contract as Jack Flaherty. I want you to go to Baseball Reference and compare their stats, man. Frankie Montas had an ERA over 4. Jack Flaherty had an ERA under 3 last year. How are they getting paid the same amount of money, man? They're around the same age. Jack Flaherty produced in October. It just really doesn't make sense to me. But I like this move for Jack. Jack Flaherty, this is a guy that's coming off probably one of the worst seasons of his career. In 2020... I want to say 2023, he was bouncing team to team. He ended up in Baltimore, wasn't good there. 2024, he found a resurgence in Detroit. He got traded to LA. Now he's heading back to Detroit. I think he found something. He probably clicked with something in the Tigers organization. So I love this move for him. And with this contract, it just gives him so much flexibility. Like, he's going to be able to say, you know what, maybe I didn't pitch that good this year. I'll opt back in for the second year. Or maybe I had my best season. I'll opt back out and get that 4-year contract that I was looking for all along.
I think this contract is kind of a chip on his shoulder. And I think he's going to go out there and try to just dominate and have a stellar season where he's like, nah, I'm going to go out there, perform, and I want to get my contract.
And then one last point I want to make about Jack before we move on to the next thing. Jack Flaherty, this is a guy that hasn't really put together that back-to-back good season. I think that might be the reason he was held out of that big contract. So I really expect him to have a good year in Detroit. And I don't think he's going to get traded this year at Detroit. The Tigers are a legit playoff team now. They showed it last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out. Jay Flair, same as Ryan Brazier. Thank you. You're a champ, man. Forever champ. And I want to say this last point. I'll never forget him drunkenly walking around the parade. That was some of the funniest of the season.
No, I think even more for Jay Flair. Hometown kid, grew up a Dodger fan. He played his championship game in high school with Wake Forest at Dodger Stadium. You know, it's a homecoming story. Like, you know, he'll forever be a Los Angeles Dodger World Series champion. Yeah, and for him, that's nothing better.
Yeah, go out and ball out next year, Jay Flair. That's all I gotta say, man.
Yep.
So because of all the moves going on in the starting rotation, Jack Flaherty's gone, Walker Buehler's gone, and Dave Roberts at FanFest said Shohei Ohtani will not be ready to pitch until May. So that opens up room in the starting rotation. Serge, I kind of want us to pan out what our opening day starting rotation is gonna look like.
Yeah, well, first, before we get into that, I think it's really smart that they're taking their time with Shohei. I don't want him to come back until he is fully healthy. Because, again, bro, even if, like, he doesn't touch the mound again, what we saw last year with the bat is just insane. But take his time, be patient with him, and just wait until he's fully ready. But to go into the question that you were asking, starting rotation. So, I think the one is probably going to be Yamamoto.
Right.
And then we're probably going to go Glasnow.
Right.
And then I think we're going to go Snell. And Roki, I think, is going to slot in probably into the 5, just because he's going to be on a minor league deal in spring. And then the most interesting, I think, is going to be the 4 spot. So it's either, I think, going to be between Tony Gonsolin or Dustin May. I think they're going to be fighting for that 4th or 5th spot in the rotation.
I agree.
And to be honest with you, I think it might be Gonsolin, just because Dustin May, the injury history, even though they're both coming off a year where they haven't pitched at all, I think Gonsolin before was the better pitcher, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure. And these are two guys we really don't know what their spring's gonna look like. These are two guys that we haven't really gotten much information on whether they're gonna be ready for spring or not, what their throwing program's looking like. So it's still up in the air if they're gonna be ready for opening day. But if I had to pick between those two guys, I'm picking Tony Gonsolin to also be our number 4 starter. And I'm a big advocate in Dustin May becoming a reliever. I want that more than I want Dustin May to be in the bullpen. Dustin May's got some of the nastiest stuff. I mean, you've seen the clip, that 2-seam fastball running in on Manny Machado that tied him up like a pretzel, man. That wipeout slider. He goes out. He's got that dog mentality like a reliever does. He's not afraid of anyone on the mound. And I think he would just fit so well into there, considering all the injuries this guy's had, man. I feel like he's been on the Dodgers. We're going on year number 5 now. Has he put together a great full season? Like, he really hasn't, man.
He hasn't, man. The only highlights of his career really are that in the shortened 2020 season where he made a good amount of starts. He was the opening day starter that year because of an injury to Kershaw. And that was really the only year where he was able to go out there on a consistent basis and put up some production.
Yeah.
Also, I want to add it on onto I think, between Tony Gonsolin and Dustin May, I think for these two it's a really big spring, because if those two don't come into spring and show something, we have backup options. We have young pitchers like Ben Casperius, Nick Frosso, and Bobby Miller. I think Bobby Miller is going to have a comeback season. And if Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin go out there and don't show what they're capable of, I think Bobby Miller might slide into the 4th spot in the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best, man. There's opening if these guys don't step up. Tony Gonsolin, this is a guy that's been linked to trades for a while now. So
him and Chris Taylor.
Yeah, you don't go out and put it together a good spring. Who knows? You don't go out and put together a good first half. Who knows what happens at the deadline? So I expect these guys to, they're going to have to go out and pitch with a chip on their shoulder. And I think I look more so to Tony Gonsolin, because Tony Gonsolin, this was a guy in 2022. This was probably our premier pitcher in the team.
16 wins.
Yeah, 16 wins.
At one point, he was 16-1.
Yeah.
He was putting up a Cy Young caliber season.
Yeah, he was pitching the ball really well. And then it almost seemed like when he got to October, he didn't have it, and he hasn't really been the same since. He's obviously dealt with injuries. But I expect big things out of Catman, man. I believe in him. I
love Catman. He's one of the best characters. He's almost like a Kike of pitchers. Like, he's like the pitcher version of Kike. Also, wanted to add on Dustin May. I think if he doesn't make or break as a starter, he won't go into the bullpen. We just saw them DFA Ryan Brazier. There's not going to be no room for him. So I think, too, Dustin May, if he doesn't show something this spring, I think he'll either get DFA'd or traded.
You think so?
I think the Dodgers have more faith in Bobby Miller.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that we can make room for Tony or for Dustin as a reliever. I'm a big advocate for that. I think he has the stuff, and it'll just be so much less stressful on his arm. This is a guy, Serge, I want you to think about this. His most innings pitched in a season was the 2020 shortened season.
Mm-hmm.
To think that the shortened season was the year he had the most innings pitched, just shows his arm is not ready to be an everyday starter. Honestly, I don't know what they got to do to that bullpen, because they decided to just stack it with superstars and supermen left and right. But if anything, Dustin May still has his AAA time. If they got to use that to let him figure something out down there, so be it.
Well, it's just right. He hasn't put up, production in 5 seasons, right? We got to think about that since 2020. So it's just like, how much more time are we going to give him? It's pretty scary. Like, this is again since 2020. That's 5 seasons. He's dealt with 2 Tommy Johns. He came back, injured the elbow again. So again, like you said, maybe the reliever role might be, or in the bullpen might be, what works for him because of his arm. But again, just when it comes to the Dodgers of how much superstar talent we have, this place just might not be where he needs to flourish. He might have to go to a different team so that he could get his value up again and put up the production, and then, become, be out there again in the MLB where people are talking about him.
Serge, don't say that, man. I don't want this guy on any other team. He's so good. But I like you said, man, things are going to have to happen. Things are going to have to happen.
He's going to have to show up to spring and, really show something.
Yeah, and then people forget too. Speaking of who can take that 4th spot, like Landon Knack, he's still out there.
Yeah, he is still out there
somewhere. There's just so much depth on this team, and it's honestly, who I'd hate to be right now. I'd hate to be Dave Roberts having to make these decisions, bro. These are major league ready guys. These are guys that have pitched in playoff games. These are guys that won a World Series, and now we're looking at them like, oh man, I think he's the odd man out on this roster.
Yeah, but I also, as Dave Roberts, you got to be going to the spring really excited and really pumped up. Again, you're getting superstar talents like Tanner Scott, Roki Sasaki. All these guys are coming back. Blake Snell. He's going to have an opportunity to work with. Bro, he has an all-star roster as his team. Again, yes, there's also the tough decisions, but at the same time, he's got to be really excited to be going back to Glendale in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. This is a very big spring, because if Landon Knack has a great spring and he goes out and he's just throwing the ball so well, how are you gonna keep him off the roster? If Bobby Miller goes out and throws the ball really well in spring, maybe Tony Gonsolin got roughed up a little bit. Is he on the team now? There's a lot that can change. And it's going to be exciting, man. I think for most teams, they pretty much have their roster set maybe for a couple guys, like one or two spots. The Dodgers, I think that you can argue there's like a good 3 or 4 spots up for grab, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of guys that can fight for that spot, especially out of the bullpen and as a starting pitcher. Like I want to read off some of these names, Serge. Like in the bullpen, there's no room, and the room that is there, it's very limited. So you're gonna have to pitch really well in spring. We got like Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, Blake Trinan, Michael Kopech, Evan Phillips, Anthony Bonda, Alex Vezia, and then now we start getting to like those weeds. We got the Ben Kaspariuses, the Brusar Gratteralls, the Michael Groves. Like there's just so many people for such little spots. And honestly, I don't want to get too much into it because we can go down this rabbit hole. I think that the Dodgers might have to make a move. I think if a Michael Grove has to go, we just have too many players.
No,
Like,
well, this spring is gonna be very interesting because not only, there's gonna be a lot of decisions that are gonna have to be made. There's not enough room for everybody on this roster. We only could take 40, and then once we get to the regular season, it's 26. So there's gonna be a lot of decisions gonna be made. I think we're gonna trade a couple people off. There's gonna be some DFAs,
right.
and there's gonna be some young players out there that are unfortunately gonna be not gonna make this roster. But it's just when your front office goes out there and gets so much superstar talent, unfortunately for the young players, is just they can't do it here.
Yeah, I think Serge. Honestly, you said it best, man. Young players are gonna be left out. People are gonna get DFA'd, and honestly, it's a bad problem for the players. But as an organization, it's a very good problem to have. That means you just have so much depth. If an injury happens,
much talent,
and we experienced it, Serge. Look at the injuries we've dealt with the last 2 seasons from our pitching staff. Like to think that at some point our top 3 in a rotation in a playoff series just a year ago was Lance Lynn, Bobby Miller, Clayton Kershaw, bro, because of how many injuries we had. Like,
dude, Lance Lynn is considered a closer now. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he's over there. I don't even know. Lance Lynn.
That was insane. That was a time.
That was a time to be alive, bro.
But no, dude, it's gonna be this spring training. I think it might be the most interesting, exciting one that we've seen.
Yeah.
At least in my lifetime, I don't remember another spring training that had so much implications of moves that are gonna happen.
Yeah. I don't remember caring about spring training, and this year I actually kind of do because I want to know where some of these guys are gonna end up, if they're gonna be able to earn a spot on the roster, right? So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting, and I'm excited. I just want to watch baseball. I don't care if it's a spring training game. I just want to watch baseball.
So excited. And it's even better for us because the Dodgers are showing up the spring. They're the first ones to play a game in spring training because we have the Tokyo series before anybody else. So we're gonna get Dodger baseball very soon.
Yeah, I wanna throw a question out there. I'll answer it first to give you time to think, Serge.
Go for it.
What is your bold take of spring? What do you think's gonna happen? I want to go out and I want to say this. I think that a lot of young guys are gonna get a lot of run. And I'm a big believer in Andy Pages this year taking that next step forward. I expect him to have a big spring. I don't know if you remember. This was a long time ago, and I remember it. I remember Juan Rivera. He had one of the best spring trainings. Like he had 7 or 8 home runs.
Yep.
I think Andy Pages is gonna end up hitting 4 or 5 bombs this spring. He's gonna play great defense. I think he's gonna take a big leap forward. I'm excited for Andy Pages.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what you think.
Yeah, I think Andy Pages he's gonna blossom this year. What he showed us last year, especially against left-handed pitching, and in the playoffs, it didn't look too big for him, especially as a young player. So I think Andy Pages is gonna come in, really good this spring. But my big prediction, and I have some belief in this guy, I think Bobby Miller is gonna go on that redemption arc. I think from the playoff losses back to 2023 against the D-backs to last year with the injury and having that 9 ERA through May. I think, he's a really solid pitcher. He has great stuff. He has a really good fastball. And I think for him, this time off and then with a full off season, I think he's going to come in with that fire in him. And I think seeing all the superstar talent around him, I think he's going to motivate him even more, saying okay, if I don't come into spring training with my best stuff, I'm not going to be on this roster. And I think Bobby Miller could play a big role for this team in 2025.
Yeah. I really like that. I'm excited for Bobby too. He's coming off a sophomore slump. His rookie year though was really good, and this is a guy that when I watch him pitch, sometimes it almost feels like he's afraid of just going out there and throwing his fastball, getting ahead of counts, attacking hitters. And I think he's going to lose that fear this year. I think he knows, like you said, he's got that chip on his shoulder. They're bringing in all these guys. Like, I'm the odd man out. I got to go out, show out. If I'm Bobby Miller, I say, screw it, man. Let me just leave everything on the field. Let me throw my 100-mile-per-hour fastball early in counts. Let me stop being afraid to throw the fastball on 2-strike counts. Like, his fastball is better than anyone. That's something I really want to see. I want him to use it more. There were so many times last year, 2-0 count, and I'm watching this big old 6'4" log leg dude throwing splitters, man. Like, I wanted to just go through the TV and say, Bobby, what the hell are you doing? So I want him to fix that. I want him to just I want him to, like, get that Walker Buehler mentality.
Yeah.
Just go out and, like, just go attack hitters.
I think he has that. He has that mindset. We've seen flashes of that where he just goes up there and he's just, go up there with the confidence as a young guy. And I think, most importantly, this spring training for the Dodgers in 2025 is going to be competitive. There's going to be young stars out there fighting for a roster spot on this team.
That's a great word. Competitive was a perfect word to describe that.
Yeah.
And like a couple other guys, actually I want to just highlight a few guys. I'm excited for Hye-Seong Kim. Like, I want to see what he can do.
Very exciting. Very interesting. I think that's one of the most interesting ones. He's from the KBO, Korea, not from Japan. And he's a very, speedy, very type of scrappy kind of player. And I think for the Dodgers, I think he's going to fit in really well. But we just need to see how he's going to adapt to the MLB.
Yeah. I think he does all the little things well. And the Dodgers have built players up on that. Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez. I remember, like, a guy like Chase Utley, a guy like David Freese. Like, these guys just play the game hard. And I think that's exactly what Hye-Seong Kim brings to this organization. He's going to slap singles around. He's going to steal base. He's going to play gold glove defense. He's going to do all that dirty work. And so Shohei, Mookie, those guys can go up and mash. And I'm excited. I want to see. It's always interesting when a guy like that comes over, and I want to see what they can do against Major League pitching. They're going to see some stuff that they probably haven't seen in Korea before. And it's interesting to see the adjustment. Hye-Seong Kim, Dodger fans, I want everyone to give him his time to adapt. He's not going to come over and he's not going to ball out the first month. Let's give him his time. I think that's why spring training is a perfect opportunity for guys like him to just shine, figure it out.
I think, honestly, the Dodgers, even though we're loaded with superstars, I think Mookie Betts and Hye-Seong Kim might be the most interesting middle infield in the MLB.
Oh, yeah.
We got to think about it, right? Second baseman, coming in from the KBO, hasn't played an MLB game. Mookie Betts is a 6-time Gold Glove right fielder who was playing right field in the World Series, who's moving back to shortstop. And so, he played shortstop well last year, but it wasn't his best. In my opinion, I've always thought that he's a right fielder. He's amazing out there. But Mookie's so athletic, and he's one of the leaders of this team that if he wants to play shortstop, they're going to give him that opportunity. Right. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how him and Hye-Seong Kim mix together, and how they're going to figure each other out, how they're going to build that middle infield relationship, and see what they can do. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I like that you brought Mookie, because I've honestly right now just kind of spitballing interesting stuff that we can be looking out for in this year's spring training. What can we look out for the Dodgers? Mookie Betts in the infield. Guys, this is a Gold Glove right fielder that already kind of failed at shortstop, and now he's trying it again. The reports are Mookie's working with some of the best infield coaches in the league, in the world. Maybe not even the league. He's working. He's putting in the work. Will we see the improvement, though? That's what I'm really excited to see. Because at the end of the day, man, if Mookie's going out there and he's making errors, and I know he can go out to right field at any given moment and play Gold Glove right field.
Showed it last year.
Yeah, I'm going to be pissed if he's still in the infield. So I want him to go out and either prove it or just play right field and just accept the fact that you're a really good right fielder. So I'm excited for Mookie. Like you said, it's going to be interesting to see how he builds that connection with Hye-Seong Kim, especially. Another
interesting thing to think about is that with Mookie Betts moving to the infield or shortstop, the outfield looks very new, very brand new. We're going to have Tommy Edman in center field, who by most people believe he's a better shortstop than a center fielder. We're going to have newly acquired Michael Conforto in left field, and then we're going to have Teoscar, who played all last year with the Dodgers in left, now switching over to right.
Ooh. So you think Teo's going to play right and Conforto will play left?
I think Teo's going to be right.
Okay.
I think Teo's going to be right. I think just because Conforto's more of a natural left fielder. Teo was playing right field with the Mariners and the Blue Jays before he came to the Dodgers. But again, there's a lot of especially with this defense, I think is maybe the biggest question with the Dodgers on how it's gonna work, how Taylor's going to adapt to right field, how Michael Conforto's going to adapt to left field, how Tommy Edman is going to have to adapt to be the leader of the outfield and play center field every day.
Yeah, and I think as Dodger fans, we've been spoiled to have just amazing outfielders. Like we saw,
Yeah.
I die on this hill. Cody Bellinger is the best defensive center fielder I've ever seen in my entire life. Like the way he tracks down
he's
balls
great in center field.
is so insane. So we've been spoiled to have him. We've had Mookie Betts. We've had Yasiel Puig. We've had great names in the outfield. And
Whoa! What a throw! Oh man,
dude,
Puig.
Don't forget about Matt Kemp either, bro.
Matt Kemp was a stud.
Or Andre Ethier was a.
Give me 2011 Matt Kemp. Ryan Braun stole it from him.
Yep.
I will die on this hill till this day.
MVP.
Matt Kemp should have been MVP till this day.
That's something that I think that conversation will always fire up a Dodger fan, bro. Like,
Yep.
So annoying. But this year's gonna look a little different. Tails, he's not really that great a defender. We saw it last year.
He's really not, and that's what's gonna be interesting is him moving from left to right, a position that he hasn't played in about 2 seasons. Again, we got to see how he's gonna adjust to that. And like you said, he's not the best defender out there. He has an arm, but his range isn't too great. He's not the best defender, and Michael Conforto's kind of in the same boat. Not the best defender. And again, new team, new stadium, has to get used to it.
Yep.
So, we'll see how that goes. I think, everyone wants to say, oh yeah, Dodgers are stacked. We're going to go out there and win 120 games, but we haven't seen this team on the field yet. We haven't seen how they connect. We haven't seen how they're going to play together. There's a lot of, I think, again, if you want to pick a question from the Dodgers organization this year, it's the defense.
Yeah. And I think, especially in the other spots, like Tommy Edman, this is a little guy that we got thrown out in center field. Like, he's more of an infielder at the end of the day, second baseman type of guy. Doesn't have a crazy strong arm. He's our center fielder. And we got a left field platoon of Michael Conforto, who's getting up there in age. He's always been a pretty solid defender. But now, what is a 30-plus-year-old Michael Conforto going to look like tracking down balls? Andy Pages, I think, has the most upside. But at the end of the day, like, we're going to have to position amazingly to be good in the outfield this year defensively, because this is why I'm sorry to cut you off, Serge, but like I'm not a fan of the way the team looks defensively, because Mookie Betts is a premier outfielder and Tommy Edman's a far better infielder. So why is Tommy Edman in the outfield and why is Mookie Betts in the infield?
I would be way more comfortable with Pages in center, Mookie in right, Edman short, and Rojas. Edman and Rojas tandem at short. Right. Defensively is great. Yeah. Amazing.
It's fine. Like I'm see, this is the thing though. As a Dodger fan, they know what they're doing. So I'm gonna be a little bit curious to see how it works. I'm gonna be on the side of like, I don't know, man. You're gonna have to show me. And if they go out and show me that Mookie Betts goes out and has a great offseason and plays great shortstop, and Tommy Edman all of a sudden starts tracking down every fly ball, I'm gonna just shut my mouth. I'll be wrong. But for right now, I gotta see it. I gotta see it get proved to believe that it's gonna work out.
Yeah, another point I wanted to bring up, just to kind of, we were talking about Kike earlier, and I hope that we re-sign Kike.
Please.
But if we don't re-sign Kike, I think another under the radar player that I think might come in with a big chip on his shoulder and might have an opportunity to be on this roster, I think is James Outman. I still have faith in the guy. I think what he did in 2023, his rookie season, was good, and I think if we somehow don't sign Kike, right, I would much rather have James Outman as that fourth outfielder on the bench than Chris Taylor.
Sergio, I am I'm very much disagreeing with you. James Outman might be my least favorite Dodger of all time, dude.
Really? Why?
I can't watch him, man. I can't watch him swing through 100 fastballs, bro. I can't do it. Please, Dodgers, don't bring him up, bro. Don't bring him up.
So you're gonna take okay again.
I'll take
CT3
all day.
You're taking CT
all day.
With the past 3 years, how he's hit over James Outman?
I'll take him over Outman. I can't, Serge.
That's crazy.
I don't know if you saw when I used to post. I'm gonna do it this year, but I would post like videos of me recording the game, like my TV during the game, and just talking over it, bro. I would tell everyone what was gonna come. I would say, "Here comes a high fastball," and then Outman would just swing through it. I can't do it, Serge. I can't. It was like watching Joey Gallo all over again, bro. I can't do it.
Dude, Joey Gallo is great, dude. That guy was terrible. Oh my god.
Dude, I can't, bro.
No,
the fact I'm glad that you have hope in him. I don't.
No, I definitely see your point. I think after the playoffs, he definitely just kind of just degraded. But I don't know, man. That rookie season, he did show some good stuff, and I think again, this is if we don't re-sign Kike. If we re-sign Kike, then yeah, I mean Outman is a no-go. But if we don't re-sign Kike, I think if he comes in and has a really good spring, he might find his way on the 40 man as the fourth outfielder to kind of maybe platoon with either Edman or help Conforto out and left.
Yeah, and I think like a guy like Michael Conforto that he's a vet. Like maybe in Conforto, he's a guy that's had some very bad periods in his career where he struggled, and I think that he could be a nice guy to talk to for James Outman. So it'll be interesting. That's another guy I didn't even think of someone to look out for in the spring, man. Like these are guys that are gonna get opportunities. Like it's gonna be interesting, man. It really is. Are there any other points you want to highlight going into spring? Any other topics of discussion, Serge?
No, I just think it's gonna be really competitive. I think for everyone out there as Dodger fans, I think you guys should definitely look into spring training. Definitely check it out, and just see who's playing, who's going to be that one player that's going to break out and make this star-studded roster of these superstars. There's going to be one surprise where we're like, wow, they didn't even think about that, but it's going to happen. Someone's going to come in and just have one of those springs and going to find their way on this roster. Yeah. So it's going to be very competitive. Definitely, all you Dodger fans out there, fans of the pod, check in with Dodger baseball in spring training.
Yeah, it's gonna be a battle of who makes the roster, who ends up where. There's a lot of moves that could happen based off the spring. One more point I want to bring up, kind of going back to the defensive stuff. I gotta see if Max Muncy's gonna figure it out at third base too this offseason. Like, I gotta see. That's another guy that if he's not hitting, he's useless. Like he's horrible at third base. So
yeah, he improved last year, but yeah, he's getting older. If anything, he might become a liability if he, can't get it together. But he did show some glimpses of really good defense last year, so hopefully a full offseason, getting him prepared. Hopefully, he comes in ready.
Yeah, so I think I want to throw this prediction out there. I would not be surprised if June, July hit, the Dodgers have one of the worst defensive rated teams in the league. I mean, it could definitely happen, bro. It could, like our left side of the infield right now looks horrible. Mookie Betts, not a shortstop. Max Muncy, not a third baseman. Outfield, like Teoscar sucks. Edman, like we talked about it could be bad. And I really hope that they don't try to stick to this and hope they figure it out. If they're not doing good by June, please just go back to how it should be. Please, if Miguel Rojas has to start some more games, bro, so be it. Our offense will be fine.
I definitely get what you're saying, that they could be the worst, but I think with Mookie Betts having a full offseason of getting to short, I think it's going to be a little bit better for him. And again, every player that we just mentioned has the potential to be great at that position. It's just we need to see how they're all going to mesh together and play. So again, by June, July, we could be the worst rated defense, but who knows? Maybe we might just really click, and it might be better than last season. You never know. Again, you can't count on Mookie Betts or anything. The guy pitched the perfect 360 in bowling, bro.
The guy does it all, man.
He's so athletic. He's so good at everything he does. So, yes, maybe we might not agree with Mookie Betts at short, but you can't count the guy out.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I'm not one to judge the Dodgers' decision making. It always seems to work out.
Yeah.
Serge, so for everyone watching, that's like a recap of some things you can look out for to spring training. To recap, there's definitely going to be a lot of competition, and there's a lot of interesting names to look out for to see if they improve in certain aspects of their game. Serge, I want to end on this. Miguel Rojas recently went on the Chris Rose Rotation podcast. Shout out John Boy, shout out Chris Rose. And they asked the question, can they break the all-time wins record? And Miguel Rojas went on a limb, and he said, I think if we're healthy, we can win 120 games. My question to you is this possible, Serge?
Well, just to re-reference the quote, he didn't say we could win. He said it's the expectation to win 120. And, okay, coming from, looking at the roster, on paper, I think we could break the record, which is 116, which was set by the 2001 Mariners and the 1927 Yankees. Right. But again, the biggest factor in us doing that is we need to stay healthy. Remember, The 2022 Dodgers with Trey Turner won 111. So this roster is by far way more star-studded. But again, the biggest factor is health. The rotation has to stay healthy. Our stars have to stay healthy. Shohei, most importantly, has to stay healthy. Again, I think it's very doable on paper. It's like, yeah, piece of cake. Again, like he said, expectation. But again, everyone has to stay healthy for that to work.
Yeah, and I take a different route on this. Serge believes it'll happen. I'm on the side, and I think I'm starting to notice a trend here. Serge might be a little more positive than me, but I think I'm on the side of the Dodgers are not going to do it because for a reason that I believe that I've seen Dave Roberts in the middle of the season. Hell, I've seen Dave Roberts in the playoffs just completely give up on games. And I think that when you string a handful of those together with other losses and injuries and different things and guys just really maybe not having their best day, it's just so hard to replicate an 120, 116 win season. It's obviously never been done before to win 120, but even to get 116, I just don't see it. And it's not that the Dodgers suck and they're not going to get it because they suck. I think it's just certain nights they're not going to throw their best guys. Certain nights Mookie's going to go in 0 for 4, and you're going to actually lose games even on your best night. And it's just too much, especially in this day and age with how stacked our division is. I don't think it can happen. 110, yes, I think we'll win 110 this year.
I definitely see where you're coming from, but again, it's a fun thought to think that it is honestly it is a real possibility. If everything is clicking and we're playing Dodger baseball how we're supposed to, it's gonna happen. But I understand. I think more realistically, I think Rojas is a little overstepping by saying this is the expectation. It's kind of crazy to say that winning 120 is the expectation. Right. Realistically, to be honest with you, I think the Dodgers are in between that 103 to 105 game range win. Okay. I think that's about where they're sitting. We won 98 last year. I think we're going to go up about 5 games. Again, this is realistic, but again, if everything is clicking, if we, if we get really hot at the right time, like saying like towards like the end of August, there is a good possibility that we could get to that 116. But again, health, and we have to see. And again, the game of baseball always has curveballs left and right. Again, you never know what happens, so we just have to wait and see.
I want to finish on this. I like the point you made about, if anything can happen everything clicks. The Dodgers have been a notoriously bad starting team. Like they always start really slow. Like if the Dodgers decide this year to get hot early, and then obviously in summer, I always say this, in summer is when the Dodgers catch fire. If they just catch fire from now till then, I think it could be possible. Who knows at the end of the day? But I think, Serge, for your last point about Mookie Betts, don't count him out. I also don't think you can count out the Dodgers to do this. So it's going to be interesting. That's another thing to look out for because at the end of the day, don't tell other people's fans, but Serge, we're going to make the playoffs. Like, we don't even got to worry about the regular season, bro. We're going to be
we really don't. We really don't have to worry about the regular season.
We can worry about dumb things like this, like breaking the all-time wins record. So I think, Serge, this was a great episode. Honestly, going into this, Serge, we were kind of like scrambling to talk about stuff, and I think we found a way to make this a very interesting podcast.
Very interesting. Well, again, because we're about to start spring training soon, and again, there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of this spring is, I think, one of the most craziest and most chaotic spring that's gonna happen, just because of we have so much star talent. Like you don't ever see teams like this that just have superstar after superstar after superstar, where there's the Dodgers are the one organization in baseball where their prospects in minor leagues, I don't see a prospect coming up in, I don't know. I don't even know if we're gonna have 5 minor leaguers come up this year. There's just no room for them. Too much talent. And that's very rare to see. It's very interesting to see how Andrew Friedman, Dave Roberts in the front office is gonna manage that.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun being a Dodger fan. And, thank you everyone for listening. See, like Serge said, season's around the corner. We're going to be we're waiting on Kike and Kershaw. So Kike and Kershaw, can you guys sign already so we can do a preview of the season? All right. So that's my message to them. Thank you everybody for watching. Look out for that season preview and breaking down the entire roster player by player. Serge, you got anything else to leave for the people?
No, guys, another great episode 2. Thank you for joining the Ravine Rundown Podcast with me and Miggy, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Yeah.
Go Dodgers, baby.
Let's go
LA.
Dodgers, baby.